Oh, hi there. Welcome back to Freedom Philosophy Television. A viewer has asked for an update on the Bitcoin market. There's been quite a bit of interesting developments over the past 6 months. I spoke about this last in January. So back in January, if you have a look here at the first chart, I was saying that we would get this rally up to test the prior high, which is at about $1,050 on the MtGox chart here, and then possibly this rally would fail, and because it's looking quite weak already, and then I thought it would go down to 850 and test that, and then possibly go higher. Well, in the event, of course, the 850 was broken almost the next day, and in fact, it was near the high on this January rally already. A doji printed, and then the next day the price crashed down and went through the 850. And when you see the middle of a large range like that traded through very easily, it often means that you're just going to get a swing back down to the lows of that big range, which would be back down to 500 on the MtGox exchange. Now, if we look at exactly the same chart on the Bitstamp market, you'll see it's a slightly different picture. We have this still have this trading range. This time I've drawn it kind of as similarly as I can, but it's actually lower, so that the high is just under 700 for this range, and the low is just sort of dipping below 400 for the range compared to the prior chart. So it's about $100 lower, the Bitstamp market value at this time. But the interesting thing is the bottom of this range has much more accentuated long tails on the candlesticks, which is telling you this is actually a much more bullish market, and that these lows are probably undervalued. So we see the same sort of rally up, and it's this point where it's fallen sort of on the, I guess, about the 19th of December. That's where everyone was predicting, or a few people predicted we'd have the bubble, and of course I was saying no, it's not a bubble, because we've just had this month or so of recovery, and in any case we had this sort of range situation set up in November, on about November the 19th or 20th. So it wasn't a bubble, but just take note of this probing below 400, the lows on the Bitstamp. And now we come to the rather more complex Bitstamp summer chart, and you can see what happened. There's the doji there on about January the 14th, 15th, something like that on the far left, and then it's crashing the next day and really falling quite dramatically, but that's no surprise, because we've just had a doji print on the top bar with a nearly a $100 high tail on it, and then the price sort of oscillates a bit, and the oscillations get smaller, and then we get a rejection of that 850 central value, which is always, again, this is the final sign that the market's going to move down and test the bottom of the large range. Now remember, the ranges are slightly different on Bitstamp. They're about $100 lower than MtGox. So we then get this long downtrend, which is the blue line A, and we see the crash or death of MtGox, where I've printed that very high volume bar, number 1. But that doesn't really shake the Bitstamp market at all. GOX went down and I think crashed through the 200 range at some point in the future. We don't see that. MtGox actually was shut down, but it never was technically a very good exchange anyway. I think that was quite well known. But on Bitstamp, the market actually recovers, goes back up to the previous downtrend level, the blue A line, and then pulls away from that. Then there's a failure to recover. There's another high volume bar which prints at number 2, but about half the size of volume of number 1. And then finally we get another failure and a drop down and a test low, and lo and behold it's at this probing just below 400. It looks like it swung a little bit lower at 0.3, but even so it's just a test a bit lower, and we get immediately quite a strong rally off that. And that comes up to this sort of red line that I've drawn in, and it gets rejected there, which is this prior swing low, and then it pulls back about halfway, and then there's a little surge, and then it cools off in the like the first, or in fact most of May. It cools and consolidates, and then we get another vigorous rally, F2. And it goes up slightly more than F1, which is this first area. You'll see there's like a fractal relationship. You can see there's a pattern of behavior repeating here, F1 and F2. It's one of those sort of fractal patterns. And then we've had 2 months of sort of consolidation, June, July, well, about midway from June to all of July, or most of it. And this is repeating the behavior from early May, but for longer. So at the moment we have had a probe lower on that 400, which is a little bit concerning. It may mean that this consolidation period will break lower to retest that again to see if we're confident about the 400. And of course it could break out to the upside, and I think that's really the message at this point. We've had 3 tests now of this 400 area, and it's held pretty well. It has gone a bit lower, so yes, there is a bit of concern about it. And if we follow this fractal pattern up, and we break the area B, the consolidation period upwards, that's from about 680. If that comes out, then we're looking at the moment to go at least up to 850, and obviously if the consolidation is a lot longer, if it goes on for another month or whatever, then we'll be up higher potentially for the up move. On the other side, at about, I guess, about 670, if that bottom comes out during this consolidation, then we're going to see potentially another test of this sort of 450 area, and possibly a break slightly lower again on that. But yeah, I would say if you had to choose sides on this, it's probably bullish, and we're looking for the 850. But that's 2 possible trading scenarios there. So keep watching this area B, the consolidation range there, from I think about 560 to about 660, and just see where it goes. Yeah, so overall Bitcoin, I think still a sound market, a good thing to be trading if you're good at trading. It's still not a vehicle for saving in. I regard it as an exotic virtual commodity, high risk still, very volatile. So take care there, and don't risk more than you can afford to lose. Thanks for listening, and bye.